Hi, I'm Luke Thompson with Lucky Duck. Today we're going to go over our assembly of the new IceX product. We've got all of our parts laid out on the table. Everything's fresh out of the package. You're going to need a pair of 7/16 wrenches, and we're going to start by putting our float brackets on the bottom of our float. So now we have our float flipped over. We're going to take our 4 brackets that go on the underside, and they connect to the float and to the motor. So we take the 2 long brackets and put them there, and then we have 2 smaller brackets that actually go through this opening in the float. We're going to take our 1/4-20 hardware. It's all stainless steel, and we're going to start by hand tightening, and then we'll follow that up using our wrenches. So we take our 1/4-20 bolt, lock washer, flat washer, and then hand tighten. And when we have all of these on, we'll come back and use our wrenches. So as we finish tightening up the bottom float brackets, we're going to set this float aside and grab our motor and start to work on assembling the rear motor cradle. So what you're going to do with this, it comes flat right out of the package, but it's easy to wrap it around and just start to form it in that half moon shape. Then we're going to take our 1/4-20, 1.25 inch, and as it's wrapped around the motor, and run that through there, add another washer, and add our lock nut. And again, we're just going to finger tighten this for right now. You're going to slide that up so that it's approximately 3/4 inch from the back of the motor to this bracket. So once we have that set, we're going to spin the motor around, because we actually want this cradle mount to be roughly even with where the wire comes out of the front of the motor. And that's just going to be roughly set right now, and will be fine-tuned once we have it attached to our float. We're going to move on to our 4 cage bracket mounts. So first we're going to take 2 of them, stack them on top of each other. We're going to take our 1/4-20, 1.25 inch, add a washer, run through, another washer, and then add our nylon lock nut. And we're going to finger tighten. And then we'll do the same with the other pair. When you're looking at the cage, you can see that some of these wires are doubled up because they have a locking feature that keeps the cage tight to the motor. So our brackets are going to go on 2 of the wires that are not doubled up. We're going to take the hex head and put that on the inside by the prop. And we're going to take another set of the 1/4-20 bolt with a washer, and we're going to run it through, add another washer and the lock nut, and then we're going to take our 7/16 wrenches and we're going to tighten the bottom. We're doing this to help hold it in place. We don't want to lock it right down because we need to have a little bit of play in this to mount to our float. So just get it decently tight so you can still pinch this bracket up top. And this will be adjusted and fastened more securely once we have it on our float. So now that we've got the bracket on this side, we're going to move to the other side. And we want to put this directly across, again, on 2 wires that aren't with the locking feature. And as with this side as well, we want to have the hex head facing towards the prop so that as it's tightened up, it comes away from the prop and there's no interference. So now we've got our cage mounts on there, still somewhat loose. We're going to grab our float, bring it over, and marry the two together. So we're going to take our motor and we flip it over and we set it against the float, and then we're going to undo the hand tightened bolt, and we're going to line that up with that mounting hole. So now we've got our bolt through the mounting hole. We're going to add our washer back in place and our lock nut, and we're going to finger tighten this. And then we're going to move to the other side and repeat that process. With our motor cage mounts in place, we're going to tighten both the top and the bottom. As we're tightening up our cage mounts, we want to make sure that this bracket sits all the way tight to the front of that cage. So put some pressure and push it forward like that, and then we're going to go back and tighten the bottom first that mounts to the float itself, the float bracket, and then we'll come up and retighten the top one. Now that we've got our front cage mounts attached and secured to our float brackets, we're going to spin the float around and work on adjusting our rear cradle mount. As you can see, it's offset a little bit based on where the wire was coming out of the front of the motor. So we need to rotate that so that it's centered between these 2 brackets where our pitch adjustment lever will come through. Then we're going to rotate the motor up, and we're going to tighten this nut and bolt. So as we tighten the nut and bolt, we want to make sure that we still keep that 3/4 inch approximate offset. As you tighten it up, you'll still be able to adjust it until it's firmly fastened in place. So now we've got our rear cradle mount in place. We're going to drop it back down, and then we're going to roll our float and motor forward and take our pitch adjustment handle, and you want to make sure that the formed angle actually goes towards the rear of the float. And we're going to slide it in between our 2 brackets and run another 1/4 by 1.25 nut and bolt to secure it in place. Add our washer, lock nut. Tighten in place. With that tightened in place, spin this back around, and you can see that pitch adjustment handle goes in between these 2 brackets. So we're going to take our shorter 11-inch cable, and we're going to run that through the slot in our pitch adjustment handle. And then you're going to double that through itself. And then you're going to take the small pin. So with our pin fastened to the pitch adjustment handle, we're going to run that through the 2 brackets that are attached to the float and through the pitch adjustment handle. So now that we've got the motor and the float secured together, the final step is to take the 2 cables and attach to the metal brackets. You're going to take one of your cables, unwind it, and run it through this rear hole. And take the cable and loop it back through itself. And then you've got 2 options at the front of the cage. The top hole will be used if you want to just have more current underneath the surface and help move your decoys. The bottom hole is if you want to put even more water on top of the ice. You can still get the ice breaking capability from the top hole, but the bottom hole just adds that much more water to the surface of the ice. And then you attach your carabiner. And then this will be attached to our adjustable pole to help secure the float in place. So now that we've got the cable on the other side, we're going to take our last cable and again run it through the same way as the previous side. Go through the back mount, loop the cable back through itself, and then whichever adjustment hole at the front of the cage you used on the other side, we want to make sure we choose the same one. It needs to be symmetric from left to right. Attach the carabiner, and that concludes the assembly of our new IceX product. I appreciate you checking out this assembly video, and all of us here at Lucky Duck hope that this leads to more success for you in this upcoming season.